My name is Elias Rahman. I am 27 years old. The events of this story began on March 18, 2024. That was the day our hidden gathering was discovered, the day 25 Christians were arrested, and the day my life changed from ordinary fear to life and death faith. I am a Saudi citizen by birth, but a Christian by belief. That identity alone made my life dangerous. I grew up knowing how to hide what mattered most inside my heart. I learned early that silence was sometimes the only protection. I come from a strict family. My father was a trader who believed strongly in tradition and obedience. My mother was quiet and careful, always warning us to never bring trouble to the family. I attended public school, studied basic business skills, and later worked in a small electronics shop. On the outside, my life looked normal. Inside, my heart followed Jesus. Our way of life was careful and simple. We met in small groups, always changing locations. No loud worship, no public signs, only whispered prayers, shared food, and quiet encouragement. We were men and women of different ages. Some were young like me, some were parents, some were elderly. What united us was faith and fear walking together. That night, we gathered in a small room behind an abandoned store. The air was heavy with tension, yet warm with love. We prayed quietly. Someone shared how Jesus had given them strength through sickness. Another revealed how faith had brought peace despite rejection from family. Our hearts felt full, even though danger was near. Then everything broke apart. The door was forced open. Armed men rushed in. Lights blinded us. Fear crushed my chest. Hands grabbed my shoulders and pushed me to the floor. My wrists were tied tightly, cutting into my skin. I felt boots against my side as I was ordered to stay down. I could hear others crying softly. Some were shaking. Some were silent in shock. They separated us quickly. Phones were taken. Bibles were seized. Faces were examined with anger and disgust. One officer looked at me with cold eyes and revealed to me that my life would no longer belong to me. Another showed me chains and made it clear this was not a warning, but an end. We were dragged into vehicles like criminals. No explanations were given to our families. No chance to say goodbye. I remember the sound of the door slamming shut, the darkness inside the van, and the heavy smell of fear mixed with sweat and tears. At the detention center, the persecution deepened. We were stripped of dignity. Hands were tied behind our backs for hours. We were forced to kneel on hard floors until our legs burned and went numb. Food was denied. Water was limited. Loud insults filled the rooms. They told us our faith was shameful. They tried to break us with exhaustion and fear. I watched one older man collapse from weakness. Instead of help, he was dragged across the floor. I saw a young woman cry silently as her head was covered and she was pushed into another room. I felt helpless, shaking, and ashamed that I could do nothing but pray in my heart. Sleep was impossible. Lights stayed on all night. Doors slammed without warning. Every sound made my body jump. I kept thinking of my parents, not knowing where I was. I wondered if this was how my life would end, in a place where my name meant nothing, but my faith meant death. Yet even in that place, something stayed alive inside me. Fear was real, pain was real, but faith refused to die. They took me out of the cell and led me down a long hallway. My feet dragged because I was weak. I had not eaten well for days. My mouth was dry and my head felt heavy. In another room, I saw some of the others. Our faces were different now. Eyes were swollen, lips were cracked. Fear sat on every face like a shadow. One officer stood before us and revealed to us that our case had been decided. He showed us papers and signs that made it clear we were no longer just prisoners. We were examples. Our faith had marked us. Our future was no longer in our hands. They separated us again. This time, the pain became more personal. I was pushed into a small room. The walls were bare. The air was hot. My hands were untied, only to be tied again in a worse position. A man walked around me slowly. He told me through his actions that he wanted me to deny my faith. He showed me tools meant to scare me. He revealed to me that obedience would bring relief and refusal would bring suffering. When I did not move or speak, the punishment began. I was struck across the back. The pain burned like fire. I fell forward, but they pulled me up again. My legs shook. My breath came in short bursts. I felt shame, fear, and pain all at once. My mind screamed for it to stop, but my heart stayed quiet and firm. Later, they locked me in a cell alone. The floor was wet. The smell was strong. I was given little water and no food. Hours passed slowly. I counted my breaths to stay calm. From other cells, I heard sounds of suffering. I recognized some voices. I knew they were being treated the same or worse. One night, they brought us together again. I saw a man with bruises covering his face. He could barely stand. I saw a woman whose hands were shaking non-stop. I saw an older believer who had lost strength in his legs. No one needed to explain what had happened to them. Their bodies told the story clearly. A guard walked among us and showed us a list. He revealed to us that the date of execution had been set. He made it clear that there would be no appeal, no mercy, and no delay. Death was no longer a distant thought. It had a day, it had a place. Fear became our daily companion. Some cried quietly at night. Some stared at the wall without blinking. I felt my own fear rise like a wave crashing into my chest. I imagined my family receiving news without my body. I imagined my name being erased. I imagined pain that would not stop. But in the middle of that darkness, something else happened. We began to support each other without words, a weak smile, a gentle nod, a shared silence. I saw courage in broken bodies. I saw peace in tired eyes. I felt strength grow in me, even as my body weakened. The persecution did not stop. It grew worse. Food was reduced. Beatings became more frequent. We were mocked, humiliated, and treated as less than human. They tried to break our minds by reminding us every day that death was coming soon. Yet every night, when the lights stayed on and sleep refused to come, I felt a calm that did not make sense. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled me. The day of judgment was getting closer. And something unseen was already moving. They came for us one by one. My hands were tied tightly again. The rope burned my skin. I was pushed forward and told to keep walking. My legs felt weak, but I forced them to move. The hallway felt longer than before. Every step sounded like it might be my last. Outside, the air felt heavy and dry. The sun was already high, yet I felt cold. We were lined up together. I counted us quietly in my heart. We were still 25. Some were limping. Some were barely standing. All of us carried pain in our bodies and fear in our minds. I looked at the faces around me. I saw tears. I saw shaking hands. I saw lips moving silently in prayer. No one spoke loudly. There was nothing left to say. The guards prepared the place. They showed us the weapons. They revealed to us through their actions that this moment was final. I felt my heart beat fast, my chest tightened, my thoughts raced between fear and faith. I thought of my family. I thought of my childhood. I thought of the day I first believed. I felt sorrow, but I also felt peace. It surprised me. Then something changed. The air shifted. I cannot explain it clearly, but everyone felt it. The guards paused. Some looked around in confusion. The noise faded. Even the wind seemed to stop. I felt warmth spread through my body, starting from my chest. My fear weakened. My shaking slowed. I lifted my head without knowing why. Suddenly, a bright light appeared. It was not like the sun. It did not hurt my eyes. It felt alive. It surrounded us gently yet powerfully. I heard gasps. Some guards stepped back. Others dropped what they were holding. I could not move. I could not speak. I felt small and safe at the same time. In that light, I sensed a presence. He revealed himself to my heart, not with words, but with understanding. He showed me love without fear. He showed me authority without cruelty. He showed me that he had not left us, not even for a moment. Chains fell from our hands. I felt the rope loosen and drop. I looked down in disbelief. Others looked at their wrists the same way. The guards shouted, but their voices sounded weak and distant. Some fell to the ground in fear. Others covered their faces. No one touched us. No one could. I felt tears run down my face, not from pain, but from relief. My heart felt full. I knew we were not alone. I knew death no longer had power over us. The light stayed for a moment longer, then slowly faded. The air returned. The sounds came back, but everything was different. The guards stood frozen. They looked at us with fear instead of anger. They had seen what could not be explained. That day, execution was stopped. And what was meant to end our lives became the moment the world changed for us forever. I was pushed into a cell again, but this time the door did not slam with force. My wrists were free, yet my body still hurt. Bruises covered my back. My legs were swollen. My stomach burned from hunger. I sat on the floor and leaned against the wall, trying to understand how I was still alive. Hours passed. No one beat us. No one shouted. Silence filled the place like a heavy blanket. Later, they brought food. It was little, but it was the first time food came without punishment. A guard placed it on the floor and stepped back. He showed me through his actions that fear had replaced his confidence. We were allowed to see each other again. I looked at the faces of the 24 others. Some cried openly, some smiled through tears, some sat quietly, holding their weak bodies. Every face told a story of pain. Every body carried marks of persecution. I touched the wounds on my back and remembered the nights without sleep, the hunger, the beatings, the fear of dying without goodbye. I remembered the humiliation, the threats, the loneliness. These memories did not disappear. They stayed with me, but they no longer controlled me. Days later, officials came. They revealed to us that our case had changed. They showed us documents without explanation. They did not call us criminals anymore. They avoided eye contact. They treated us like something dangerous, not because of violence, but because of what they had witnessed. We were moved quietly. Some were released under strict watch. Some were sent away from their cities. I was among those forced into silence. I could not return to my old life. I could not return to my family. I became a stranger in my own land. My life after prison was not easy. My body healed slowly. My mind healed even slower. Loud sounds made me jump. Dark rooms made my chest tighten. Hunger reminded me of the cell. Pain reminded me of the rope, but faith reminded me of the light. I now live carefully, but I live boldly inside. I help others in secret. I pray for those still in chains. I carry the story of the 25 not as a tale of fear, but as a testimony of survival. Persecution is real. It is painful. It breaks bodies and tests minds. Many believers around the world are beaten, imprisoned, rejected by family, and sentenced to die simply because they choose Jesus. Their tears are real. Their pain matters. Their faith is costly. If you are reading this and you are free, do not forget those who are not. Pray for the persecuted church. Pray for believers in prisons, in camps, in hiding. Pray for strength, courage, and protection. Pray that their faith will not fail and that their suffering will not be wasted. And if you are reading this and you desire a new life, repentance begins in the heart. Turn away from sin. Acknowledge your need for forgiveness. Believe that Jesus saves, restores, and gives eternal life. Surrender your life to Him with humility and faith. Ask Him to cleanse you, guide you, and make you new. I survived to tell this story, not because fear was absent, but because faith was stronger.